So in the organic African paradigm, we always say fear is the absence of knowledge and understanding. Absence refers to an unknown, the lack of memory. That's what absence is, the lack of memory. It's a state of lacking. Whenever we are in a state of lacking, we're in a state of ignorance of ourselves. We're in a state of ignorance of our reality, right? We don't know the kind of reality we live in. We don't know the illusions that have been put on us. People came together and they created neocolonialism. And we spent time trying to explain neocolonialism. That's someone's illusion. Europeans got together, sat at a table and said, we are going to create neocolonialism. And then they did it. One thought, one speech, and one action. African people can come together and create their own colonialism, their own thing, and they can follow their own systems. And what would happen? The European system would not have a place in their worldview. The European would not be able to exert his will in their worldview. But they are trying to understand his system. They're trying to learn it and then beat him at his own system. Then he changes the system. As soon as they get close, he changes the system. Then they're like trying to figure the next one out. As soon as they get close, he changes the system. Then generations are born into this perpetual cycle. We have to put a stop to that. Fear caused us to believe that we cannot create a system greater than theirs, that we have to follow their system. Without their system, we would collapse. We would stop comprehending the universe. The universe would end for us if we didn't have their system. So the lack of understanding of our reality, the lack of using our environment to make the tools that we need. We give away our minerals because we don't understand chemistry. We don't have enough chemists to tell us how to use cobalt, coltan, all these type of things. We don't have enough people who understand the elements. People know, they can tell you everything about Arsenal, everything about Barcelona. They can tell you how much Messi is paid, how much goals he scored, but they cannot tell you the basic nature of the elements of the African continent. They cannot tell you those things, right? That is that fear. They're afraid of that type of knowledge because having that type of knowledge forces you to be great. Having the knowledge on Messi forces you to be in the state of inertia, right? So the absence of one's own illusion, we don't have our own system, so we're forced to follow the system of the Europeans. And our system is supposed to serve as a self-propelling force. Our system we build is supposed to propel us, it's supposed to push us, and it's supposed to fortify us in the face of danger. It is supposed to fortify us in the face of overwhelming obstacle. We do not have those systems yet. But through the Organic African Paradigms teachings, you are going to start getting the seed of those kind of thoughts. The seeds will be planted in your mind slowly, and slowly they will germinate, and then they will begin to emerge. And then you will start to see now where we need our own self-propelling forces, illusions, to activate us in the face of danger, to activate us when we face overwhelming obstacles. How do we destroy obstacles in our way? How do we overcome enemies that are so overwhelmingly powerful in our minds? But in reality, they're just like us. They're only making use of their elemental natures. So fear is a warning for danger. That's no mistake about it. It's a psychological emotion. It's part of us. It's never going to go away. Fear is natural biochemical response in our body. We're not saying that it's wrong for us to have fear. We are saying that when it leaves you in a state of absence, when it leaves you in a state of perpetual obscurity, perpetual dysfunctionality, then that fear now is destroying you. You're afraid of greatness, which you are destined for greatness. You were destined for it because the people who came before you, they did it without hesitation. So depending on what we perceive in this world, right, our condition of fear, our understanding of fear is what has left us paralyzed. So human nature versus human unnatural. African people, currently we are in the state of human unnatural. And human nature is what our ancestors were in, because they were not exposed to anything outside of their own illusion, outside of their own reality, and outside of their own tools. But then someone else came in the picture, and that person convinced us that we need to give up our reality, our tools, and our illusions, and embrace theirs. So we enter the state of human or natural. Nature is the natural world, which is dependent on human beings, and human beings are dependent on nature. There's no lie about that. The unnatural world contradicts our well-being. When you are in the unnatural world, your well-being is now in a contradictory state. You are in a contradictory state to your well-being. You are in a prolonged suffering state. You enter a state where there's prolonged suffering. That means you're in an unnatural state. When there's prolonged dysfunctionality, it means you're in an unnatural state. If there are individuals who have no memories in a prolonged way, you are in an unnatural state. Families with no memories, unnatural state. Communities, no memories, no power, unnatural state. Societies, no power, unnatural state. All these unnatural states are prolonged ignorance, fear, ignorance of the laws of nature, absence of being in the laws of nature, absence of the understanding of nature, absence of the creator, absence of the ancestor, absence of the self, absence of knowledge of the obstacle and the enemies. All these prolonged things come out of this. That's human unnatural. All living and non-living beings are infused with a unique and innate set of instructions that is meant to cause us to thrive. We have an innate and unique blueprint that forces us to seek thriving, to want to thrive. But that blueprint can be contradicted. We can be introduced to contradictions that are going to obstruct our well-being, that is going to prolong suffering. And those things will feel good, right? The things that prolong suffering feels good, right? The things that prolong dysfunctionality feels good. The things that prolong, contradict our well-being might feel good to us, but it's not necessarily good for us. We have to know what is good for us. Human nature is good for us. Human unnatural is not good for us. Human unnatural, prolonged suffering, prolonged dysfunctionality. That's human unnatural. Human nature, prolonged, you thriving, innate, you have innate set of instructions that cause you to thrive, to achieve your goals. That's human nature, okay? You can face impossible challenges and overcome those challenges. That's human nature, right? You can have balance within yourself. You can exert temperance. You can balance your impulsive nature. All those things are human nature. They exist in human nature. But when you cannot control your impulses, you're volatile, you're constantly in the negative, constantly this is all human unnatural, right? They prolong suffering. They prolong dysfunctionality. And we choose those things. And as long as you promote those, you choose that way of human or natural, the memories you need cannot be activated. The one that you're looking for, that oneness cannot be restored. So we have to begin by building within each of you out there. We have to build from within, then build between ourselves, right? Then build in the center of ourselves, then build in the surrounding of ourselves, then build totality. So I'll give you an example. What I've cultivated within myself, what you've cultivated within yourself. We are two individuals, me and you, Sister Shanice. But when we come together on this show, we build between us. When we leave this experience, both of us, this is something we've done it together. This is called between. If we now take this and we say we're going to go build a school in Africa, and this is called the center, we have now built something in the center. When we build something in the center between us now, that thing will, other people will come into that thing, and that thing will spread into the surrounding, right? And then other people follow that thing, and they will build, and their totality will grow. That thing will grow into a larger organism. This is how we build in human nature. Human unnatural, people build at the individual level, and then they stop. They don't build in the family level. They don't build in the community level. They don't build in the society level, and they don't build in the collective level, because human unnatural tells you that you don't need anyone. You cannot build with others. You only can trust yourself. You only can build with yourself. Only you have goodness in you. No one else has goodness. Only you are capable of good. No one else has it. Human unnatural tells you that. Human nature tells you no. You must build with the self, the family, the community, the society, and the collective, no matter what. Human nature tells you that. So that is how this people came to be. The people we call, who build these things, you see all of them here in this image together. There's 42 of them sitting on this panel, right? 42 different individuals coming together. This is what human nature is. Human and natural is a picture of you alone, and no one else is in that picture. That is human unnatural, because you're taught that you, the individual, are above all else. Yes, the individual must be developed, the family must be developed, the community must be developed, and the society must be developed. But they must do it within, between, center, surrounding, in totality. Okay? So fear is the natural law of the universe. We experience fear. Fear is real. Fear is practical. So I'm not going to say that fear is not real, fear is not practical. Fear is real, fear is practical. And we are going to feel it whether we like it or not. I can't tell you to just overcome your fear like that. What I can tell you is that the more knowledge you have, the less fear you will have. The more we come up against fear, the more we push through that fear. We face it, we confront it, we can sustain ourselves in the face of that fear. We can gain experience in life, and through that experience, we can overcome fear. I will tell you the story of Memphis. When the ancient Africans arrived to the place they called Memphis, it was nothing but a swamp. It was a land of just swamp, mosquitoes biting them and all that stuff. And the Pharaoh called the people, a council, hurry. He said, hurry to me. All of them came to the Pharaoh. And when they arrived to the Pharaoh, they all did the ritual to find out if Memphis was a chosen land. And once the universe confirmed that Memphis was a chosen land, it did not matter that Memphis was a swamp. They began to dig up the soil, redirect the flow of the river. They pushed the Nile River, the whole river. They redirected the course of the Nile. Then they took the mountains, they broke down the mountains in the sand, and they dumped it in that place, and they filled up the whole land, made the land solid. Everybody came together and did that. And when they made the land solid and they redirected the course of the Nile, then they were able to build on that land. All because the ancestors believed that nature approved them to build on that land. That was all they were waiting for. As soon as they got the go-ahead from nature, this is the land you can build on. These people called the council, hurry to me, all of you, the Tua people, all the Bantus, everybody came there. They had a meeting, right? And once they had the meeting, they erected the Dijet pillar, the pillar of truth. So this is the Dijet pillar right here. They erected the Dijet pillar. And once they erected the Dijet pillar, they put up the 4 pillars of the house, the temple, right? The middle pillar is the pillar that holds the house. The four pillars are the female, the women. They're the four pillars are the women, right? So they erected it, they cleared out everything, all the swamp, and they built Memphis. Today, you go to Memphis, you don't even know that they built Memphis from a swamp. You don't, it doesn't even look like it, right? But these people could transform mountains. These people could do things simply because they believed they could do it. That's all it took. Because they believed they could do it. Because they believed that they were made from the elements. Because they believed that they were divinities. They were divine emanation. So the 5 pillars of every human temple, every African temple. This is your temple here, Sister Shanice. This is my temple. This is the temple of Brother Malma. This is the temple of all of us. Even those of you watching, this is your temple as well. The ancient Africans had to, at some point, overcome their fear. Like all living creatures have fear, which is intrinsic to them, but they have to overcome this fear. The way to overcome fear, the secret to overcoming our fear, is to equip ourselves with the knowledge and understanding of our Creator, our environment, our ancestors, ourselves, and the obstacles or our enemies. That is the way to overcome all fear. These are called the 5 simple truths of Africa. The 5 truths to overcome all fear. So, our Creator, the first pillar. Our environment, which is the second pillar. Our ancestors, the third pillar. They symbolize, ancestors are 3 generations: past, present, and future. So, people think ancestor just means the past. That's not true. Ancestors is 3 types of ancestors: ancestor past, ancestor present, ancestor future. Ancestor past, they give you memories. They show you memories of what was. Ancestor present build the world. They set the foundation. They establish the principles here. Ancestor future, they are the children who will be born 1,000 years from now, who will be born from your line, right? If you have any children, your children are the ancestors' future. Their children will be the ancestor future, and their children after that will be the ancestor future. So we have this habit of looking at ancestor past only. We look at ancestor past, we say ancestor past is the most important. No, it's not. Ancestor future are important too, because those ancestors can show you the future. They can tell you what will happen, when an enemy is coming, who is going to try to destroy you. They can tell you those things, right? Because they're the ones who know the future. The children who are not born yet, they know the future. The ones who were already here, they possess memory of the past. They know everything that happened previously. Me and you, we know the world that we're living in. So our ancestors cannot get knowledge from this world that we are living in. We give them knowledge of this world. We tell them the world we are living in. This is how knowledge is divided into the 3 ancestors. So when an ancestor from the future shows you the future, or the Sahara Desert being a paradise, it means that that is going to become a reality based on how we do, what actions we take. That will become a reality. When do you know why there are bodies in the pyramids? There are mummies. Do you know why there are mummies? The Africans believed that they call this future, the afterlife. The future, the afterlife. They believe that by preserving the atoms of the body, the elements which made up a human being, which made your embodiment, by preserving that, that person's spirit would enter the future. So those ancestors, their spirit are here. Like when they died long ago, 5,000 years ago, they were put in that way so they could see this world, because there was no way for them to see this world. We have to tell them about it when we go and communicate with them. We have to tell them about this world. But for them to see this world by themselves and for us to see them physically, they have to preserve their body. Their body has to be preserved. It has to be buried, hidden. And then when we unravel those bodies, we see them and they see us physically. So you see all the museum, the mummies, they're there. Those people can see us and we can see them. But the link between us is broken. The memory is gone. So we look at them as, things to look at. But we don't look at them as people who came with a mission to remind us, to give us memory. And then through that memory, we can restore what they lost, what was forgotten. So I think let's take a break here so we can bring in, I did bombard you with too much information. So it's not fair to you. But the takeaway is know the Creator, know our environment, know our ancestors, know ourselves, know our adversities. These are the 5 knowledge, the 5 pillars that will help us overcome fear. So you can come in now, Sister Shanice.
Thank you so much, Teacher Mitri. Another very, very interesting and enlightening presentation. Wow, that was phenomenal. I mean, Teacher Mitri, where did you acquire this level of knowledge from?
It is what you call when you go within, right? When you go within, there are 6 dimensions. Or 5 dimension. There's the first dimension that think of 5 pools. I'll tell you a dream. I had a dream one time and I woke up in an ancient city. Mold covered the walls, everything. And then I walked towards the temple and I saw an ancient one, a very ancient African. And as I was walking, he pointed to me to go through the 5 pools of purification to clean myself. So the first pool I entered, the water stopped me to my leg. And this is knowledge. So it stopped me to my leg. Then I came out of that pool, and my legs were purified. The second pool I went into, the water stopped me to my waist, right? My genitals and everything were purified. And the third pool I went into, it stopped me to my chest, right? And my heart, everything were purified in this next pool. And the fourth pool, is it the 4th pool or the 5th pool I went in, it came to my eyes and my eyes were purified. Then when I went into the final pool, it was bottomless, infinite. And so I was submerged into the darkness, infinite darkness beyond. So in this final pool, the knowledge were based on the human nature, regular knowledge. The first pool is regular human life, regular human nature, regular human life. What me and you know, everybody knows this, right? We know we can sneeze, we know we can do this, we know basic things. The second is when humans cultivate themselves, when people cultivate knowledge, when someone becomes a designer, someone becomes an engineer, someone becomes a so-and-so. That's the second. The third now level of knowledge is when someone now begins to perceive something for the world to benefit from. When you start to perceive something, let's say you say, well, this needs to be bigger, right? So that everybody can benefit from it. That's the third level. The 4th level is the architect. Now, architect refers to blueprint. When you see the blueprint of things, like you can take a blueprint from the ant colony, how the ants use nature. You can take a blueprint from the roots of the tree. You can take blueprints of anywhere in nature. And that blueprint all of it can be joined. So it's like architect. The architect knowledge is the knowledge of all the blueprints in nature. And then there's the cosmic knowledge. The cosmic knowledge would be the 4th pool, the pool that goes, right? And where you're not fully submerged, but you're submerged to your breath. And the cosmic knowledge deals with knowledge of medicine, well-being, functionality, bringing people into equilibrium and balance, balancing human beings. And then the final knowledge is divine knowledge, when now we are talking about planetary knowledge, knowledge of the deeper part of the universe and different aspect of the universe. So as we go through these are called the fluid intelligence. These are called the fluid intelligence. So all the fluid intelligence exists within each of us. It exists. The difference is cultivation, right? The difference is cultivation. The difference is fear, right? When someone has overcome fear and someone has no more fear of those 5 things I talk about, then the knowledge comes to you. When you are no longer thinking in a state of separate, like separating yourself and all that stuff, you have one, and you can follow that oneness, one thought, one speech, and one action. You can follow it. Then these things start to pour into you like water pouring onto a carpet or something, and you absorb it. So there is a way to acquire the knowledge. There's 2 ways. One of the principles of knowledge is, if you want to acquire knowledge or understanding, is called willingness. So willingness, there's 2. The willpower that humans have is called, you've heard of the willpower, right? And you know what a willpower is. Willpower is your determination, your focus, all those type of stuff. It's the power of your will. Now, then when someone wants something, they say by God's will. Christians say by God's will. God's willing, I will do it. If God let me do it, I will do it, right? They have God's will, they have human will. We all have that. So the human willpower is divided into 2 beings, the male and female. Male and female. The male is called the willpower. That means he is represented as fire, thermal energy, heat energy. The element that represents the male energy is heat, fire, as hot as you can imagine, the sun, temperature of the sun. And the element that represents the female is the water element. So the water element is called willingness. Water can go anywhere. If you put water in the pot, you put heat, the water turns to air. If you put water on the carpet, it goes into the carpet. You put it on a floor, it starts rolling. Put it in a bottle, it stays in the bottle. You put it in the pot, it takes the shape of a pot. Water has willingness. So that willingness that water has is the ability to learn all knowledge. Water can experience all things. And because water can experience all dimensions of the universe, you put it in a swimming pool, it takes the shape of a swimming pool. You put it in a jacuzzi, it takes the shape of a jacuzzi. You put it in the ocean, it takes the shape of an ocean. You take salt, you put it in the ocean becomes salt water. You take salt, you move it out of the ocean becomes fresh water. You take the ocean, you put iron oxide in the ocean, it becomes blood, right? You take ions, the salt ions, you mix it with iron, or how do you call it? Iron oxide, red ochre. You mix it with water, you get blood plasma. So the universe, when we come to water, water is the willing force that absorbs all knowledge in the universe. Water does that. So for a person to develop willingness is very difficult to be like water. It's very challenging for people to develop willingness because of fear. Because fear freezes water. Fear turns water to ice. It freezes water and it makes water stagnant. It makes water turn rotten. It makes water starts to decay. So you want knowledge, you want understanding, willingness is the way, the female energy. You want to conquer your enemies. Let's say the Europeans are oppressing, you want to defeat them, then the fire, the thermal energy, the willpower is the way. So there's 2 energies. You want to conquer the obstacle, any obstacle. You want to be relentless. You want to do this and do that. Then the willpower, the masculine, you use that to conquer all obstacles, the fire. If you want to gain all knowledge, you use willingness. So those are the two energies that gives you knowledge. You know, willpower gives you the ability to fight and conquer anyone. They can have the biggest weapon, the biggest machine. As long as your willpower is fixed and you master your willpower, that person will fall. David and Goliath, they will fall because your willpower will overcome them, right? Your willingness, if the person can make robots, you can learn how to make robots because of your willingness. If they can make spaceships, satellites, you can learn that because of your willingness. We Africans, we are willing to learn Ronaldo, the score, how much points Ronaldo makes. We are willing to learn when Manchester United was in the Champions League or something like those. We show willingness to learn those type of things. That's what we use our willingness for. So we have knowledge in how much money Ronaldo made. We are masters of how many goals Champions League had. We are masters of that knowledge. We are masters of going to the gym. We are masters of knowledge that exists in the universe but doesn't grow, doesn't do things. It doesn't do anything. So it's not that we...
Knowledge. And that's what society has guided us, where society has guided us to go. I had so many questions, but because of time, let me just ask one more question. And there's so many. Which one shall I pick? I think I remember you talking in your lecture about us before we were humans, when we were in a spiritual state. I can't remember the exact word that you used, but you talked about us being in the elements or probably of a state before we became a conscious living state. I mean, in a future lecture, is it possible for you to go into that element of our existence a bit more? I think that's where maybe also our ancestors are at the moment, where a considerable amount of our knowledge is as well that we need to bring into the future. Is that a lecture in itself, possibly?
It can be a lecture in itself.
Awesome. And you talked about us having lost our memory of our former greatness. I mean, what more can we do? We try through these sort of lectures, but really, what more can we do and ought we be doing to remember our memories, those important memories of our former greatness?
Well, we are beginning to do the right thing now. So like this teaching, we are learning it. The first thing is that, remember, there is fact which Europeans have built. The institution, they built, academia built their whole structure, how for you to perceive the world. And there is a way that you can perceive the world inside of you. That way, when I tell you these stories, something inside of you will tell you, say, it will make you feel like kind of like there was something emerging out of your spirit, something vibrating inside of your spirit when I tell you these stories. That is the part of you that you haven't been listening to for a long time, right? And I tell you, the cookie is sweet. Nothing happens to you. You don't feel anything. If I tell you about Harry Potter, you don't feel anything. You didn't feel anything. If I tell you about Lord of the Rings, you won't feel that. But the story I told you, it will cause something inside of you to shake, like a tiny fragment will move. And when that movement occurs within you, it means the person inside of you, that ancestor, recognized the story. That ancestor that lived inside of you, they recognize the story. And so they will make you feel some tingle. Now, if you are a person who's in tune, who can listen to yourself, but if you're a person who cannot listen to yourself, who cannot hear the voice inside of you, you hear the voice outside, academia, Western scholar, you hear all that more, then it'll be difficult for you to hear that ancestor talking in that DNA. So DNA is your chain of ancestors, right? Every one of those list of DNA, there was an ancestor memory in there from long ago. So you just, if they hear the story, they will do something inside of your body and you'll feel it. But some people will externalize. Well, the Europeans say we need facts. We need Egyptologists said this. So, then the ancestor will be quiet. The ancestor is timid. So if you tell him to shut up, he will shut up. If you tell him to talk, he will talk, or her, right? They're timid. They're not going to talk to you or speak unless you give them permission to speak. So that's the solution right now for this thing. We can do that is listen to the inner self.
And that's what we need to teach our children to do. And I think most of us have sat in some of those classrooms, and a lot of what's been said, we've kind of felt, no, that doesn't apply to us. No, I reject that. No, that's not quite right. And we're listening to try and hear something that resonates with us, but it doesn't. And they just kill that spirit, don't they? And then even the religions just kill that spirit and tell us not to listen to that inner spirit. So yeah, their society is designed to just kill our spirit from when we're young. So it's a really hard one, but the more of us who are in tune to messages like this, the more of us that will begin to remove those barriers that are in the way to us being more in tune with our spirit. I really loved also the way you was talking about the one and the power of the one as well. And that how we are authorized by the universe to do anything that we feel that we need to do whatsoever in order to survive. Could it be that that's what the others know and are practicing, irrespective of, I mean, we won't go into Palestine and Jerusalem right now, but there are those who are doing anything, irrespective of what the rest of the world thinks, to save themselves and their future in this world. Have we too passive lost that driving force to be the change that we need to be and to become one in order to achieve that?
The thing is, you said it, everybody's practicing the will to survive on earth. They've done some horrible things. Have you ever seen lightning come out of the sky and strike them? No. Have you ever seen the earth open up and swallow their whole cities? No. You've never seen anything. As a matter of fact, they're growing stronger. And Rome was doing the most evil thing, and Rome lasted for 700 years, right? The Greeks were doing all types of man-on-man action, and they lasted for when they lasted. The Arabs came to Africa. They were selling our people, doing all types of illegal things. The Arabs are doing fine, right? So the universe doesn't command us to be passive. The universe has never commanded us to be passive. The first element of creation was the element of war, Kanum, the ram. So Kanum, what we call the energies, the first energy that existed to start this galaxy that we live in, to start the sun to heat up, then for us to begin life here on this planet. The first thing was the element of the martial nature, the military nature, the martial nature. So the martial nature never died. It's part of this world. It is never going to go away. It's the original nature, the martial nature. So the African people, because they spent so much time in the spiritual world, and the spiritual realm where the ancestors are, that world is a peaceful world. They have left the world of struggle. They have gone to the world of peace. So when we try to bring that world into this world, we mess up. It doesn't transfer over, and we make that mistake of trying to force pacifism into this world. We try to do things to, just be the ancestor will make it go, just be, like that.
God would help us. Yeah, doesn't work.
Doesn't work in this world. The leopard must eat the antelope. The leopard could not eat a potato. There are potatoes. The leopard cannot eat cassava. The lion cannot eat cassava. You give it Cassava, the lion is going to reject it. It wants an antelope. The antelope doesn't want to eat meat. The antelope wants to eat potato, cassava, green. So there is going to be an eternal fight for survival. It will never go away in this universe. So African people, peace is to balance you. There's nothing wrong with balancing yourself so that you might be good to yourself and others. But ensuring the three ancestors, ancestor past, ancestor present, and ancestor future. We're talking about ancestor future now. Ancestor future must come. We must pave the way for ancestor future. That means whatever the universe authorized us as Africans to bring those ancestors' future into this world. Whatever we need to do, we will not be judged. There will be no earthquake coming to split the sky open. If we build an empire and we fought to keep that empire, we will not collapse because of so and because the gods are going to rally and come and strike us. They will not strike us. They did not strike Rome. They did not strike the Ottoman. They did not strike the Arabs. They did not strike the Asians. They are not going to strike the Americans. They're not going to strike the people who come after the Americans. The gods do not interfere with human life. What we do to ensure our survival, we have been authorized by the universe to survive.
There we go. And to do nothing is not an option. Otherwise, you know, it's a pathway to our own destruction, and we will be ensuring that our future generations don't come. So we've got our work to do. We've got our work cut out. Teacher Mitri, as always, a very interesting lecture from yourself. And what have we got to look forward to for the next lecture, Teacher Mitri?
Okay, so let me bring our screen back. Since today we introduce you to this part here, the 5 pillar of the African people, the human temple. So this is where you begin the human temple. But when we come back now, we want to talk about, so our ancestors conquered their fear so they can build Memphis, so they can build civilization. But we want to talk about the human body. The human body is an embodiment of water, willingness. Remember, I told you, right? There are 2 creators. The female creator is the water and the darkness. And the male creator is the light and the fire and the energy, all the energy that exists. When you combine the 2 of them together, you get the whole universe, right? Because they exist like that, their powers, we are made of 70% water. All this, a kidney is 83% water. Tissue, all this is all water. Hydrogen, carbon, all this is water. Everything here is water. Human beings just one giant walking water, right? However, within this water embodiment, you have abilities. And 7 of those abilities makes you a normal human being. When you learn all 46 of them, you gain the pinnacle of extraordinary African. So I cannot learn all 46. Even I have learned only 7. So the children who are going to master all 46 elemental nature, those children will be born through us after we've been taught these things. Then they come in, they will get a genetic knowledge, and that knowledge will cause them to unlock the 46 natures. Then they will reach the pinnacle of extraordinary African. So when we come back again, I'm going to talk about the elemental nature, the water nature, the fire nature, the lightning nature, the nuclear energy nature, the chemical energy nature. And once I explain all those natures, then we will close off this chapter and we should be ready for the next chapter, which we will go into, as I already told you, we will go into reality, tools, and illusions. We'll go into the 3 keys of understanding. The key, then from there, we'll go into the 2 intelligence. Remember, I told you about the 6 pools, the 5 pools of creation, the water that I had to walk through. We will walk through those 5 pools. But there are 2 types of intelligence in the world. We will talk about that, the 2 types of intelligence.
Looking forward to it. Teacher Mitri, wow, we thank you so much for bringing this knowledge to us. And family, to all of you who are out there watching, we look forward to you sharing this knowledge and the information. Please do recommend to family and friends that they tune in to this channel and absorb the teachings of Teacher Mitri. You might have to watch the videos 2-3 times because there's so much that you can get from these lectures and these presentations. So please do share the knowledge. We need to be walking in our former greatness so that our future stands an opportunity to become great again in the future. So, oh, also in case you're wondering what that is beside me there, that's my lady's book. The remarkable accomplishments of ancient African civilizations. And my, it's a reminder of us when we were walking in our former greatness. And if we could achieve and accomplish all that we did back then, wow, once we get back into that right mind, the mind that our ancestors had, wow, you know, it's unimaginable right now what we can accomplish in the future. I'm excited about the future. And like the mummies, you know, I hope to be able to come back and to be able to see and witness what our futures are actually doing in the future. But anyway, for now, we want to rise you up. We want to thank you so much for tuning in. And yes, we go in peace. More love, more strength, more voodoo power to each and every one of you. Sister Shanice, out of here for now. Thank you very much. Bye for now, Brother Mitri.